So this one's going to be about the price of sympathy. The price of sympathy. And what do I think about that? So let me start off by sharing kind of a funny interaction that my wife and I had about a month ago. I had a foot surgery done, pretty standard operation, no big deal, just some corrective work from wear and tear. And I was probably a couple weeks into that recovery, and I was down in the basement, doing something, and my wife called down and she said, "Hey, I got to run to the store. Is there anything I can get you?" And I yelled up to her, I'm like, "Could you get me a bottle of sympathy?" And her response immediately was just awesome. She's like, "No, that's too expensive. Even if they have it, that's too expensive." And it was a funny interaction. It was lighthearted and kind of a joke between the two of us. But it made me think later on that that's a pretty big statement, really, a pretty important statement, or something to think about, is that's too expensive. And it made me think over the last couple of weeks about sympathy and the price of sympathy and what does sympathy mean. And I want to start off, before I get into it, for me personally, is just certainly I do believe there's a place for sympathy. There's times it's called for and necessary, and we feel it. A lot of times it has to do when somebody passes away, or there's a funeral, or there's some kind of tragedy or some kind of hardship with people we're close to or people we know. You see sympathy cards, in the stores. A lot of times a common phrase to say is, you have my sympathy, you have our sympathy. So I do certainly believe there's a place for sympathy, and I certainly do not want to come across like an uncaring, dick about sympathy or caring for people. That's not what this is about. What is this about then? For me, what this is about and what got me thinking about is the price of sympathy. And I believe two things about sympathy. One is, if I feel sympathy towards someone or something, and something is causing me to feel that way, somebody lost a loved one, or they're going through something hard, it touches me in a way that I feel it, that, man, I feel bad. I feel bad for what this person's going through. Not pity or anything like that, but just it really touches me and bothers me in some way, affects me in some way, that kind of a sympathy. If I feel that in a situation, then I should do something about it. To me, then I have an obligation to do something about that. And that something could be simply talking to that person, showing up for a visitation or an event. I don't mean this to all be targeted around funerals, but it does seem to be what comes to mind mostly. But for whatever the situation, if I feel that towards someone and going through a hard thing, then to me I have an obligation to do something about it. And it doesn't need to be a big thing. It could simply be listening. It could simply be showing up, being there. It could simply be asking what they need. What do they need help with? But if it causes me to feel something, and if it causes me to say, "Hey, you have my sympathy," or what can I do for you? Then I also have an obligation to do something. I hope that makes sense. And that could be even more than just talking to someone or showing up. It could be offering help. There was a recent situation where someone went through a very unexpected tragedy, and they needed some legitimate, like, day-to-day help. And I wasn't involved in this, but I was exposed to it. I was made aware of it. I witnessed it. But it wasn't anything with me personally, anything I helped with, but another person helped this person in need with some basic, like, day-to-day stuff that needed to get done. And that was a huge help to this person. I don't know what it's like to go through really anything that hard. There's certainly been some hard things I've done and some hard things I've gone through, but when it comes to, like, on the grand scale of life, tragedy type stuff, By the grace of God, I really haven't experienced that, and I'm certain at some point in my life I will. And I don't know how I'll react to that. So if I have this feeling of caring for someone who's going through something hard, I need to do something about it. On the other side of it, if I don't have that feeling, if it's not anyone that I can really impact, or if it's someone I don't really know that well, to just go around and say, I feel sorry for you, you have my sympathy and all that, I also don't believe that's necessary. So to me, again, I don't want to come across callous or not caring. I certainly care. But to me, it has to be genuine. Maybe that's the word I'm looking for, genuine. A genuine feeling for somebody going through something hard. If it's not genuine, then it's not needed. If something is only feel good, feel good is no good, in my opinion. So is it genuine? And if it's genuine, I need to do something about it. And then for myself personally, from my experience, when I think of, the example of foot surgery and the interaction between my wife and I is just kind of a funny thing. But what it makes me think about is that when it does come to hard things in my life, I do not need someone's sympathy if it is not genuine, and if it does not come along with some kind of support or action that they're going to provide. So now this is kind of, if I've explained what it means to me and what I feel an obligation for, now this would be the flip side of that, returning to me if I would be going through something hard. So I'm kind of jumping around. I apologize for that, but back to what I started with. So there's a price then with sympathy. There's a price with sympathy. Struggling a little bit today here on the second day of the new year. But anyway, I'm at the parking lot where I work, and I just wanted to get this out. These videos are kind of a pain in the ass for me to make, so I just need to do it when I feel like it. Anyway, and again, everything is raw and uncut and unfiltered, and you're just getting it right out of my head to this phone, and hopefully you get something from it. But if I'm going to take action and feel obligated to do something, then there's a price that comes with that. It could be my time, it could be whatever. Okay, so that's that. Now on the flip side of it, if somebody's feeling something for me, or I'm going through something hard, to me sympathy is something that if it's genuine, if somebody really can help or wants to help, or I even want anyone to help, I believe that's useful, that's beneficial. Again, I haven't had a lot of really hard things in life to where I've really experienced that. I would like to think that when that time comes someday, that I would benefit from that from other people. But I can't speak a whole lot about that side of it. But what I can say from my experience, for what I have gone through in life and what I go through and just what I think of things, is somebody's pity or sympathy or feeling sorry for me for whatever can be very dangerous if it is not genuine and if it isn't followed through with some type of action to help the situation. So where I'm going with this, and maybe this is the main point of what I'm babbling about this morning, but the main point of this is, if somebody feels sorry for me, oh, that must hurt, oh, that must suck, oh, that must feel bad, oh, I feel bad for you, that kind of sympathy or pity is not good for anything if it doesn't come with some kind of action or help. It's especially, to me, dangerous if I would feed into that. If I would like, oh yeah, it does kind of suck having this foot, surgery that I'm recovering from, or it does kind of at times, become a burden, dealing with this or that in my life. And yeah, it is kind of hard. And yeah, maybe I start feeling sorry for myself. That doesn't do any good for me at all. And there is a very negative, very dangerous price to sympathy if I would feed into that. So for what it's worth, the price of sympathy, to sum it up, if I'm feeling for somebody else that's going through something hard and difficult, and I feel that and I have that sympathy, then I need to do something about it. I have an obligation to do something then. Again, something very simple as being there and listening or talking to that person, encouraging, all the way up to maybe this person needs some actual help with something on the day-to-day. And on the flip side of it, for me, I'm very cautious about sharing with anybody if the times are when I am going through something hard. And it's because I don't want the sympathy. Part of me just doesn't want the attention or the sympathy, but part of me does not want anybody that's going to just feel sorry or woe is me kind of thing, because I don't want to associate with that. I don't want to put myself in that situation where if I could be at a weak point in my life, I certainly don't want to start feeling bad for myself or sorry for myself. That could be very costly. That could be very expensive. That could keep me from recovering quicker. That could keep me from doing the best that I can to move forward. Maybe even keep me from moving forward with whatever I'm going through. And so that's the price of sympathy as I see it. I hope you got something out of this. Take care. Have a great new year that's coming at us. Appreciate you listening if you made it this far.